Pearson. This is my puppy Nazir, and we are in the Charlotte, North Carolina area in my tiny home. I had been researching tiny homes for about 2 years and knew I was going to build, and kind of had a plan that I was going to build probably in stages. I didn't want to go to the bare basics. I still wanted to have home in a tiny house. And then I had the bright idea along the way somewhere to apply for HGTV's show, Tiny House, Big Living. And so that kind of ramped up my timeline. All of the things that I kind of had on my wish list that would have made my tiny house spectacular, well, now we're filming, so I have to make all of them happen. And fortunately, I was able to do that. I had some great people working with me to help me accomplish that. I live in a tiny house, but I wasn't giving up everything, you know, and I'm not knocking anybody that does by any means, but I wasn't giving up, you know. I wasn't going to have 2 shirts and 4 pairs of pants, and that was it. So my closet is, you know, the full walk-in closet, so I can have my clothes. That's kind of who I am. And my house might be, you know, on the bigger size than what somebody might consider a tiny house. My intent with the mobile lifestyle, initially I planned to move my house more. I knew I was building a bigger house, so I was thinking probably like every 6 to 9 months. It's not one, you know, to move frequently. And now that I've built, I still kind of think that. But even if I don't move the house, I want to have the freer lifestyle, so that at some point I don't have to work as much and as hard, maybe not even in corporate America, to finance my lifestyle, so that I can still travel, even if I'm not traveling with the house. I want to have that lifestyle so that I can, you know, I have the freedom to travel. Right after the build ended, I was in an RV lot, and it was on the lake, so everybody was like, that's perfect on the lake, and it was actually pretty out there, but I really wanted to have some place to kind of spread out and have a little more room. So I started searching for property. I found a couple of good spots. One spot was zoned for mobile homes, so I would have been the only structure there, and had to deal with the city to get permits to allow for electricity. Initially was trying not to tell him that I had a tiny house. And so he had said no, they had said no like a couple of times. So I was like, okay, I need to go for it. So then I said, okay, it's a tiny house. And so he was like, oh, I've seen those shows. And then I'm like, I'm not gonna tell him I was on a show. I don't know if he's seen my show. He might hate my house. I'm not giving any clues. But I said, well, that's what I'm trying to do. And so he was like, well, yeah, I know those are coming. And so he said, I'd like to use your house as a prototype for how we'll deal with them. So I was all excited. He was like, so I need you to prepare a tie-down plan, which makes sense, and we'll want to review your plans. I had a couple of people that were going to charge me like $1,500 to prepare a tie-down plan. And so I was like, okay, no. And then I had initially bought the plans for home, because that's what I was going to build in the beginning, and realized within the plans, they have a tie-down plan. So it would work just fine, because I'm still on a 28-foot trailer. I had a structural engineer review it to make sure that the plan would work for North Carolina, and he was like, oh yeah, because they're in Oregon or wherever they are. So he wrote up a letter certifying that it would work. And so I took that and my plans and gave it to the city. And so when he came back and said it doesn't meet code, I'm confused. We knew going into it that it didn't meet code. And you were gonna review this and try to look at it with a different eye. So I think somebody higher than him shut him down. He started saying something about putting it on a foundation. And I said, I never intended to put it on a foundation. We never talked about that. And if that was the requirement, I could have told you from the beginning, I'm not putting it on a foundation. And he was like, well, you know, I'm trying to work with you. If you give me a plan for putting it on a foundation, we might be able to see what we can do. And I was like, no, I don't intend to do that. So then there's no use in having this conversation to continue. I had even written him an email once I left the office, and I said, from my understanding, this is what I understand the requirements are.
Smart.
And I outlined a tie-down plan. And he never came back to say no, a foundation, or anything like that. So I know something happened. But I kept on my search, and actually had quite a lot of interest, some properties that I reviewed, and I landed on a great property, a guy's backyard, an acre and a quarter of property. And it's I've been here a little over a week, so getting settled in, and it's perfect. He put in some effort, which was refreshing because, you know, somebody that's working just as hard as you, I didn't even really have to worry about getting set up here because he was doing so much. But then he was like, you know, I'd like to ask you to at least sign a year lease because I'd like to recoup some of my money. And I have no problem with that because I don't want to have to keep looking for a place. So even if I move the house, I'd like to have a home base to be able to come back to.
That's what's great about the tiny house community, because we're a vocal crew, and we're positive and I think mostly proactive, you know. And the fact is, there's a growing segment of the population who wants to live like this.
Right.
It is quality.
I think it's the ones that actually are in tiny homes now. The difference in us is like you have so many people who are waiting for it to be allowed.
Yeah.
And they're scared to build. I don't have the property, and we're the people that are like, I'm building and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So we're more of the risk takers.
Pioneers.
Right, and we're willing to, like you said, be a little more vocal because we have a vested interest, and we're a little more out there than the people that are just kind of teetering and waiting for somebody to say, check the box, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, everyone can't afford to build, to spend money with a tumbleweed or tiny home builders to have a certified house. So you're gonna have to rely on some of I guess I would say second tier builders, or, you know, somebody that maybe has not built, but you need to be able to, you need to be able to do your research. You need to check references, that kind of stuff. Don't just look at the house and say, oh my God, that's a cute house, and I'm going to work with this builder. Ask for some references. Ask the people who live in the house.
Absolutely.
And I've never ever, I've not made any bones about me and my builder didn't get along. It didn't impact the quality of my house but I've researched it for 2 years, so I knew how this thing, and it was my design and my plans, and I had the luxury to be on site almost every day, all day. So I was able to catch things that weren't right. Like when he first started building, he had framed my house and the roof was sloping that way. And I'm like, you built it backwards? And he was like, no, it's not backwards. And yes, it is. And so it was several things like that I just happened, because I lived and breathed in my plans, I was able to catch. But somebody else who doesn't have that luxury or hasn't been able to do the research isn't gonna have that opportunity. You know, we're all working for acceptance. I don't want something that I know has structural problems, venting problems, to kill somebody and then they shut us all down. And that, you know, that's the kind of thing that would happen. I don't want anybody to lose their life, even if it doesn't shut us down, but just to know that I could prevent that.
Right.
Can I offer y'all something to drink? My home is about 330 square feet on the interior, including the 2 lofts, not including the screened porch and balcony. I initially was looking at a 24-foot trailer and decided to go with a 28-foot trailer just so I could have a larger bathroom space to make my house a home. That was one of the things that I wanted to have, some nice bathroom space. So I have a combo washer-dryer unit, bathroom counter space so I can have all my girly stuff on my bathroom counter. A reading nook. You climb up the ladder on the side of the wall to get up to the reading nook, and it's a very cool space when the puppy is asleep that I can enjoy. Otherwise, he's like, hey, can I come up there with you? My master loft, I love it because out of that window you can access the balcony. So now that I'm in my new spot, I'm really looking forward to being able to enjoy the balcony more and to see the night sky. And then I've got a full walk-in closet. Jamie Lawson is one of the designers that worked with me on the project, and the closet was kind of her baby, so she designed it based on how I use my closet space. Cooking is not my first love, but I can cook, and so I have a 2-burner stove, microwave convection oven, so I can still bake a turkey if the feeling hits me. Well, it's more the work nook, the eat-in work nook in the corner. When I was dreaming of my tiny house, I wanted a nice, big, comfortable couch. And so between the bathroom and the wheel well was 81 inches. And everybody knew we better end up with 81 inches when this build is done, so my couch will fit here. I'm a visual person, so to look at the plans and the window sizes, it didn't really mean a lot to me until the windows got in, and it was like, okay, that's perfect. And that the round window initially was supposed to be bigger than it is, but if it had been any bigger, I don't know that I would have had much house left for a window, but that is one of my favorite features. Home means to me having my favorite things that make me comfortable. I can become very off-centered if I don't have my stuff. And that's kind of how I design the house, knowing the things that I have to kind of to keep me centered.